Well, yes, and besides that, they're from North Carolina, so they grew up with seeing, it wasn't like they were stuck in Rhode Island. All they saw was the old WWF, which, they saw, guys who grew up in North Carolina saw the best in-ring talent in the business, the Horsemen and Flair and et cetera, et cetera. So they already saw it, and then they went out of their way as they got older and got in the business to go back and look at the finer points and study it. And I did the same thing. When I was managing the Midnight Express, I'm not going to say that I trained Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey and Stan Lane. That would be ludicrous. But I watched all the wrestling that I could find on videotape, and then I said, okay, Bobby Eaton does this, Dennis Condrey does this, or Stan Lane does this, and they do it well. How can we put those things together where they can do double team moves or they can complement each other? And that was how we kind of put all that stuff together. And that's the same thing the guys are doing now with that incredible library of footage. They're the ones who get it. The ones who don't get it are going, well, I could do a triple flip into some thumbtacks, and that would get a pop from all 300 people in the fucking barn that I'm wrestling in. But the guys who really get it, they go back and they study the guys who drew money and who were tremendous in-ring performers and who had the psychology and took the fans on the roller coaster ride and got their points across, whether they were heels or baby faces. That footage is out there for them now, and for them, they go back and look and they take that and they don't just steal it outright. Because when you steal from one person, it's plagiarism. When you steal from many, it's research. They research and they figure out a way to make it their own, and they use that to get themselves over by saying, okay, I'm going to take this from Tully Blanchard, and I'm going to take this from Arn Anderson. I'm going to take this from the Midnight Express. I'm going to take this from Ric Flair. I'm going to take this from Terry Funk, but I'm going to put my own spin on it. But I'm going to learn basically how to work, not just how to be a video game, wrestler, which is unfortunately what the majority of folks in our business these days want to do. They want to imitate the video games that they play. That's another reason why the promos suck for the most part, because you went in the locker room 30 years ago and you had guys like Wahoo McDaniel and Terry Funk and Dick Murdoch and Ric Flair and those guys telling stories, because you didn't have cell phones and video games and smart tablets and Twitter and bullshit, so you had to tell stories to entertain each other. It was like the old days when on the Dick Van Dyke Show, when they would all get together in Dick Van Dyke's living room and put on a show. You had to get over with the toughest audience in the fucking world, which was wrestlers that had heard and seen every story and been involved in everything. And if you could tell a story and keep their attention, you could cut a promo. Now I walk in the locker room, there's 15 guys there and nobody's saying a word. They're all sitting there playing with something on their fucking phone. No wonder they can't do promos. They can't tell a fucking story.